singular. People talk about conspiracies, and of course they happen all across society, and people see them in their own lives from time to time. But we're looking at one agenda. It's not actually a conspiracy at its heart. It's an agenda, and it's been unfolding for a long, long time and can be charted back right into the ancient world. And it's for the centralization of power in the world and all areas of our lives, with a world government, world central bank, world army, world currency, microchip population, all these things which have been suggested for years are actually unfolding.
Who started this?
Well, if you look into the ancient world, you can pick up one face, if you like, which has had different masks put on it at different times. You can go back quite comfortably to the 1300s, the time of the Knights Templar and others, and you can chart them right the way forward into the modern world and the control of today's banking system and political system, transnational corporation network. When you get to the top of those pyramids of those apparently unconnected institutions of our lives, including the global media at ownership level, you find the same organizations and the same people sitting there. So basically it's an agenda for the centralization of power in the world. And the mentality at the top of the pyramid could be seen between the 1930s and 1945 in Germany. It's what we would call the Nazi mentality. There is a Nazi global agenda, and I don't want to link that just to Germany, because the Nazi mentality is no respecter of genetic inheritance. I mean,
are you referring to the...
That's one name for it, the New World Order, yeah. The conspiracies come in making this agenda unfold. So you'll have conspiracies to remove those people and organizations that are a threat to this agenda becoming reality. You'll have conspiracies to put people into political and economic power who will make that agenda reality via legislation, like Clinton and Bush. I mean, they're not opponents, they're associates and members of the same organizations working to the same agenda, funded and brought through by the same people. And the third conspiracy is conspiring to manipulate the mass consciousness to demand that that agenda becomes reality.
Now, how do they do this? Through mass media?
Well, let me give an example of the most powerful mind manipulation technique. Okay, they want centralization of power. They want more power for police, more power for security agencies. If they offered that package up front, openly, this is what we're going to do, there would be a reaction. People would say, this is a fascist state, we're not having this. But if you use a technique which I call problem, reaction, solution, you actually get people who would normally oppose that agenda to demand it happens. Problem, reaction, solution works like this. You create a problem in the world, I don't know, run on a currency, government collapse, a war, because I show in my books that all sides in the two world wars were funded by the same people and had their front men in all these countries. So you create a problem. You need someone, however, to be blamed for it, so the real culprits are not named. So you have the Lee Harvey Oswald syndrome. You want the patsy.
Right.
I would say also the Timothy McVeigh syndrome. You then get the media to report your problem in the way you want it reported, and you're looking for a public reaction of something must be done, this can't go on, what are they going to do about it? In other words, the authorities.
Right.
And at that point, those who've created the problem and got that reaction then openly offer the solutions to the problems they've created. And in this way, you get, like I say, people who would normally oppose the solutions to demand they happen. In Britain, we've got cameras in the streets going up all over the place and increasing surveillance of people as they have in America. And people are demanding it. You see, if you let society break down so there is more crime, you emphasize crime in other areas to be worse than it really is. You set up major events like Oklahoma, which we might get into. You get people in the four-letter word that controls the world,
well,
fear.
We are going to get into that in a moment, but we're going to take a break.
Okay.
And we'll be right back after this important message, so stay with us.
Stand by. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Takes many levels, which we could get into as we go along. Particular one where people are now conditioned to police each other. In fact, they have been throughout known human history. People think when they first hear that a few people control the world, and it's certainly not those in political power. They're the front men for the people who really run the world.
behind the scenes.
Absolutely. The people that control the banking system and the transnational corporations, they're the ones that rule the show. The politicians like the Clintons and stuff, they're front men. And if you've got not just skeletons in the cupboard, but whole cemeteries like Bill Clinton, then of course you are in a situation where you do as you're told or else it's revealed. So if you just take this one area, because this is actually the foundation of it, when people hear that a few people control the world, they immediately say, hey, that's ridiculous, that couldn't happen. But the fact is that big secrets keep themselves. Governments only have to keep little secrets, like whether Al Gore is using the telephone in the White House at the wrong time for the wrong things. The big secrets keep themselves because they are so different to the conditioned view of reality that we get, that when the truth comes out, people say, oh, come on, that's far-fetched. But if you look at the basis of how it works, it's quite obvious that it's happening and how it can happen. It's not done through physical means. You can't control billions of people physically. But what you can do is control the way they think and manipulate them mentally and emotionally, and that's what happens.
Well, that would include not only our government, and that would include our schools.
Absolutely.
That would include our churches.
Mm-hmm.
And that would include government agencies like the federal government and the IRS.
Absolutely. I mean, and it works like this. If you look at any organization today, it's a pyramid. You've got the few at the top who know the real agenda and what the organization's really there to achieve. And the further you come down from the pyramid, you're meeting more and more people in that organization who know less and less and less about what's going on. They only know their little bit. It's called compartmentalization. The way this global structure operates is like Russian dolls, one inside another, inside another, inside another. Well, it's pyramids inside pyramids inside pyramids. So the small pyramid, say a bank, goes into the next pyramid of the next pyramid until you get the global banking system pyramid, and at the peak of that, you've got the same people and organizations. Global transnational corporation network, when you get to the peak of that, you've got the same people and organizations, and they're the same people who own the banks. It's the same with the global media, it's the same with the intelligence agencies, and eventually all these pyramids fuse into one pyramid peak.
Well, it's interesting that with an eye in it on our dollar bill.
Yeah, very appropriately. The pyramid and all-seeing eye is an ancient symbol of this manipulation, this face with different masks. And it was put on the dollar bill in 1934 by one of the great frontmen of the 20th century for this group, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was put in there by the global banking system to take America into the Second World War, and I document this. He came to power in 1933 originally on the back of a classic problem reaction solution. The Wall Street crash, Great Depression, something must be done, solution, save us, Franklin, the New Deal. He was voted into power because he was perceived to be the man that could sort the problem out. Should do this and should do that. They think that those words mean must do that by law. Those words should, which you see so often in these documents, are not there by accident. They're there because they know it's not a must because it's never been passed. And if we could just look at how money is created, I think people's eyes would open to see what a con it is.
Well,